Fíl chuin fáilte a chorib fáil ag an ócáid íontach deas a líonta anocht. You're very welcome to this very, very special exhibition, I have to say. It's been quite a while since we've had a ceramics show. I've had my knuckles rapped a couple of times this evening for that. But anyway, here we are, and this is as good and fine an exhibition, I think, as we have ever had. It's been very exciting to have two very distinguished and totally different artists, and yet it's a lovely kind of a marriage of different styles. And we're very fortunate, in order to open the exhibition, to have with us this evening Rob Death, who himself is an outstanding ceramist, but also a very major influence on others for encouraging his teaching of others, his promotion of others as well. So would you welcome, please, Rob Death.
Hello. It's an enormous pleasure for me to be opening this exhibition, Form and Surface, by Jane Seymour and Mike Byrne. Jane Seymour and Mike Byrne, for those of you who haven't met them. I've known Jane, Mike, Tom, and Dean. That's Dean, Tom, for many years, and have huge admiration for all their work as artists, educators, writers, curators over the years. When I walked into this exhibition an hour and a half ago, I just went, wow. Yeah. This is a fantastic display of the wonderments of ceramic. I mean, I love ceramics so much. I've been teaching ceramics for a long time. I go to as many exhibitions as I can. But this is outstanding. This exhibition is so outstanding in relation to the work, but also in relation to the way it's presented. And congratulations, Tom, for that presentation, and to Jane and Mike for the work. It's brilliant. The amount of work, the actual quantity and quality of work which is here is amazing. I never expected it when I was asked to do the show that it would be so good. I wanted to talk a little bit about the way that it's actually been conceived by Jane and Mike. From the starting point, I talked to Jane about how she conceives these are Jane's works on the wall, and the figurative pieces here, and the drawing is the starting point. She loves to draw. She loves to draw the crow and the human form, and that is how she begins. So that's the beginning part for Jane. So Mike the form is the thing for him. So when he conceives it, it begins with the kind of the idea of the form of the work. So it's so that's the starting point. Nearly all the work is made with slabs of clay. So for those of you who don't use clay, it's rolled out with a roller, Mike he's also a printmaker, and he rolls out his slabs with the printing press. That's what he's holding. So that's a kind of an interesting connection between his work in print and his work in clay. So when the clay is rolled out, in case of Jane, for the wall pieces, it's laid into a mold, and then cut out, the top's cut off, so it's just laid down inside there, and then she draws into that clay when it's still reasonably soft, and it's left to dry, and she rubs oxides into the clay, and and then it's fired and worked again in different ways, and then fired again. So multiple firings, that's what you said. And Mike also does multiple firings. He puts the slips and clay on top of the surface of the piece, and fires it, and then works on it again, fires it again, adds some more, puts on it again, fires again. So the similarity in the kind of the methodology of the making of the forms is there, and also the kind of the surface. That's what I'm going to say. The surface is kind of pastel, matte, and Mike's a very colourfully pastel-y, and Jane's have different aspects to them. So I need a drink.
You get a good drink.
I can
Sorry.
yeah. That's a first.
I vote that's it. Yeah. Thank you. Sure.
So, coming into the show, looking at the forms and seeing how they work together. I mean, somebody said to me it's very difficult to get two ceramic artists to show together and that it would actually work so well. Mike's almost all on plinths. Jane's are on the wall mainly, with a few exceptions. Mike has few little pieces there on the wall, which kind of balance out from the plinths. Everything interacts together, and I think the strength of this exhibition is the way that the interaction goes on. The interaction of colour, the interaction of texture, the similarities of texture with the similarities of the undulation of form, if you like. There's a kind of a sensuousness to Mike's forms, especially these pieces here, which he tells me are his newest work. They have a kind of an undulationally sensuousness, which is also in these ones here, the boats. Jane's work is particularly sensuous as well, from a different point of view, because of the way that she portrays the nude, sort of lying and moving, and it has that kind of sensual quality. So you've got two different kind of explanations of sensuousness going on in the room. You can feel it, like if you stand here and just look at everything. It's very sensual. So the decoration, sgraffito, drawing into clay. Mike uses it as well, but it's less obvious in his pieces. If you look at his surfaces very closely, you'll see all the scratch marks and everything in them. He makes scratch marks and then he rubs them out with sandpaper or with something to smooth them out, and then works on them again, and those kind of the surfaces, they're actually smooth, but they're rough at the same time. They're rough and they're dry and they're matte and they're gorgeous. So even just kind of going up to them closely and looking at each individual piece of the work is exciting, and that's something that I would recommend. The influences, Jane's Modigliani, there's a piece over there, it's actually called Modigliani, isn't it called Modigliani?
Modigliani's Muse.
Modigliani's Muse. Modigliani's Muse. It's over there. It's a beautiful piece with the inspiration of Modigliani. I have one of her wall pieces in my gallery in Spittle, and I always kind of associate it with Gauguin because it just kind of has that kind of innocence, but yet sensuousness at the same time. We talked about Picasso, and I think Chagall as well. I don't know if you've anybody seen Chagall's ceramics. But, if you ever go to a place called Serre, which is in the French Pyrenees, there's a gallery there where we just set up where Picasso and Chagall worked together. And Chagall did an awful lot of drawing on the surfaces of his vessels. They actually worked with a potter in there and made some stuff themselves, but also just got the potter to make things and decorated them. Chagall and Matisse, the 2-3 pieces over there which have got coloured backgrounds. They look like textile carpets or something, or something that the women are lying on. Matisse. And so there's all these kind of wonderful influences. Mike was talking to me about a guy called Ken Eastman, who is kind of like another ceramist, English, I think, isn't he? Yes, yeah. And and I can see the kind of the undulations and things going on in his work. But I love the way that you close in the forms a lot, you know, and also put kind of these lovely things balancing on the edge. You know, there's little cups. Is there one there just up here?
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of sitting there and they just kind of look as if they might wobble or something like that. You know, they're kind of balanced. I particularly like myself over there. There's a piece called, what are they called? Calculus. Yeah, the names of all. It's got a lot of them have got funny names.
Funny.
They're kind of not funny names. They're interesting names. They're kind of things that if you go up to and have a look at the catalogue and go up to the piece and try and work out why is it called critical sky or critical system or all you can carry and always neutral. I just love these names that you kind of just you've had in your mind and you've given to them, you know. And I also like those few pieces, calculus included, that got a little something kind of added into the form of the piece, and the jug form, which is again over there, is interesting in relation to functionality and because everyone associates ceramics with pottery, and so it's kind of interesting to bring something like a jug into an exhibition like this, because it is completely non-functional, but it has a relationship with functionality in terms of history of ceramics and all that kind of stuff. So that's something there. So the enigmatic names of the pieces. So there's an awful lot to actually take in. Like I haven't been here that long, but tried to take in some of it so that I can talk about it. But it's worth spending a few days here actually, trying to kind of like work out exactly what's going on. The fact of the complementation, each piece complementing another piece in the space, and again the curation of the exhibition is a very exciting, is the way that it actually does. It counterbalances things, and that's great. Yeah. So the crows, Jane tells me. I mean, I before I kind of met Jane, I always associated crows with kind of Edgar Allan Poe and those kind of things. But she sees crows in a completely different way to the kind of the dark crow that Poe would be suggesting. And she called them sort of funny and intelligent and kind of smart. And you can see they're called crows in conversation.
Conversation with crows.
Conversation with crows, and they're talking to each other, and they're sitting on each other, and they're just having a bit of crack, you know. And I love that kind of association with the birds that obviously you've got a strong affinity with. Nearly there. There's something else I'm going to say there. Yeah. Jane's mother, Sally, was a potter, and so she kind of learned a lot about clay from that, and she tells me she used to make chess sets. in her
Well, I have to,
program.
sorry, I have to interrupt you. I didn't learn a thing from my mother. She tried. She tried to teach me how to throw. It was a disaster. So I don't throw.
Okay, I know that. I didn't say you did that. But if you were in the pottery, you obviously kind of gained something from
Well,
that.
I mess around.
About clay, okay? And her father, John, wrote books about self-sufficiency, which I mean, he was my guru about 50 years ago. He actually, he expected Jane to be a potter because she was using clay. And he was kind of disappointed when she wasn't. But Jane had an exhibition with Tom 20 years ago. He had the gallery in Middle Street in Galway here. And John came to the exhibition.
He did. I have a photograph of Tom taking off my father's coat.
And so it wasn't functional at all. It was sculptural, smoke-fired pieces, as far as I remember.
But sorry, he did say to me when he saw my work before the exhibition, he said, "Why can't you be a proper potter like your mother?" And I almost killed him. That's all I'm saying about that.
I get off the parents for you now, Robert.
But you said to me,
Yes, he
Yes.
came along. He was as proud as punch when he came to this
Yeah,
exhibition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so, I mean, John's a practical man, thinks, okay, pottery is functional, okay. And then he sees it, so he was proud. So so Jane's come a completely different place from that exhibition, and that's just something I was saying. Anything else? I don't think so. So, I have to pay tribute. Can I have another glass of water? Okay, thank you, Tom. Pay tribute to Tom for the support he and his team have given to artists and craftspeople over the many years, both in High Street and here in Lisbon. There would be no way to show this work at its best without the support of galleries such as yours, and also Dean here, now just working in here. It's a labour of love, and we thank you for it. And finally, a reminder of the fact that all this work is for sale, and brilliant value for money, and thanks for listening. Never again.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention. So just enjoy the exhibition, and we take cash, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Yes, yes. Congratulations, hello.
Yeah, I just
That's why.